Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu is on the other side. Hopefully, everybody had a great start to their weekend. Hopefully, everybody's going to get a good start to their week. But episode 245, Stros start the season with a dub. And remember, last 2 years, the Astros lost on opening day, and the Astros wound up winning that close game 3-1. Obviously, the bats in game 2 weren't there, but game 3, they were able to capitalize on a win, and they would clinch the series dub against the New York Mets. But a lot to get through. Rookie, of course, Cam Smith getting his first hit. We'll preview that Mets series, preview the Giants series coming up. Injury updates around the horn, a lot to get through. Cantu, what you got to say about this weekend, man?
No, it was just a great weekend overall. Me personally, we had the boys had a golfing trip there, so pretty nice to hit the greens with the boys, and then I had lunch with the family today as well. Had some crawfish last night, but overall, great weekend. If you're an Astros fan, I'm sure it was a great weekend for you too, since the Astros did take the series against the Mets, like the Astros said. But a lot of great stuff you saw from this Astros club. Offense, uh, I think still needs to pick up a little bit, but the pitching really stood out for the Astros, being able to limit the damage um with that strong New York Mets lineup that's has Juan Soto, Mark Vientos, Peter Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, guys like that who easily sting pictures. They're kept pretty silent this series.
Yeah, I think the Astros pitching just did a marvelous job, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we talk about this series. But like you were saying, just real quick with the Astros pitching, man, starting pitching dominated this whole series. They only gave up maybe 2 earned runs in total from both Framber, Hunter Brown, as well as Spencer Arrighetti. So they just did a phenomenal job. Like you were saying, that lineup is very tough. I would say the only one that would have more that did really well against the starting pitchers would probably be Juan Soto. I think he did a really good
Expected, yeah.
job, and yes, it did, and it is expected because this is a guy that's getting paid 700 plus million for a reason. It's the other guys around him that got to step up. Of course, I believe, in my opinion, I think Francisco Lindor is that captain of that Mets team. But with him and Soto, if they can both start clicking, and well, specifically more on Lindor, man, that team's going to be very scary. Even though the pitching wasn't really strong, I would say. But overall, the offense is looking good for them. But the runners in scoring position, just like the Astros, which we'll talk about that here in a second, just wasn't there for really, I would say, both teams.
Yeah.
And it was a very competitive series. I think this was one of the best series in baseball to start off the 2025 season for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, if you're a fan of pitching, then this was a series for you. Very low scoring game, dominant. Pitchers duel almost every night, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, so before we recap that series, Cantu, you want to let everybody know where they can find us? We did a lot of content in both social media and YouTube. We put a lot of reels and little short videos that we had covered through opening day and really just the series in general. But just let them know where they can see us, and let's get this thing started.
Yeah, for sure. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, also our social media. On X, TikTok, and YouTube is at Full Steam Ahead. On Instagram, it is a tad bit different at FSA Full Steam Ahead, but just find Full Steam Ahead wherever on whatever social media platform you have, and you will find this easily.
Yeah, some great shots also from photographer, videographer Kane. He did a really phenomenal job
Absolutely.
with all the pictures and the videos that he posted, especially with the Jerry Pena. You felt like you were there live, seeing that home run when he rounded the bases. But yeah, let's talk about game one. I mean, I think vibes were automatically for not just the people in Houston, but just baseball fans in general. It was electric out there. Lights were going off for the rosters announcing for both teams. A lot of boos for Juan Soto, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to boo the best player in baseball, in my opinion? And I think Astros fans have done that through the times with Albert Pujols. I mean, remember them days when they were booing him every time he got called up. Um, but of course, got a big standing ovation from the rookie Cam Smith starting his first game in right field for the Houston Astros. Before we get with the offense part, let's talk about our starting pitching because starting pitching really set the tone for this series in Framber Valdez and Clay Holmes. Framber means 7 scoreless innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. So he did a really good job inducing that ground ball. Of course, that's the Framber special. getting the ground ball, getting the double plays, just making sure his defense works behind him, and they really did a good job doing that. Framber did a really good job as well, commanding his pitches, the location, executing where it needs to be. So shout out to Framber Valdez
Yeah,
for doing that.
I do want to say 4 strikeouts for Framber Valdez in a game. It's not. That's not like him. Usually, Framber Valdez gets those high strikeouts, but that just kind of shows you how deep this Mets lineup was and how competitive it is. Where sometimes you just had to get the double play instead of trying to strike people out because it is pretty tough to strike them out. They know how to work the counts. Like I was impressed by like guys like Juan Soto was expected right to work deep counts, but Vientos, Nemo, took a bunch of people 3-2 counts as well. Just be patient. They're really patient up there.
Yeah, I forgot if it was on the Apple TV commentators, which that really sucked. Of course, Apple TV baseball is back for everybody. But it was either them commentators or the commentators from Fox. I want to say specifically was John Smoltz, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But one of them said that they think Framber Valdez has one of the most electric stuff, one of the best just pitching players, left-handed specifically in baseball right now. And that's saying the guys against like Max Fried, I mean, I know there's some others that are out there. I just don't have them on the top of my head, but that says a lot coming from a future Hall of Famer that has pitched with guys like Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, especially that's a lefty through their days in the 90s. So getting that recognition that he really deserves. Of course, we don't know what's going to be the contract for Framber. We're not going to sure if he's going to test free agency or not, and maybe the Astros do get an extension done during the season. But getting the recognition that he deserves, it really shows a lot from baseball fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
But of course, everybody's talk of the town since spring training was Cam Smith, and the rookie finally got his first big league hit and his first at bat too. Man, he just got that thing out the way. I'm pretty sure, like nervous bugs in the stomach, but at the same time too, when you play this game, you got to go out there with full confidence, and I think that kind of helped him just with the crowd being energetic, roaring. And all that type of stuff. But the first pitch, first at bat, Cam Smith knocks it to the right side, getting Pena going from first to third. And Smith has really done a good job, at least in his at bats. They're all big league at bats that he has taken so far in these first 2 games. He didn't play in game 3, but in the first 2 games of this series, he's looked really good. He's looking like he's getting comfortable at the plate. But another fact, too, Smith is the second youngest Astros positional player to make his MLB debut. As a starter on opening day, the youngest was a 19-year-old Rusty Staub in 1963. I don't know if that was during the Colt 45 days or that when they already transitioned to the
Yeah,
Houston
I think
Astros.
they were only the Colt 45 for 1 year, right?
I want to say so.
I
That's what I'm saying.
didn't.
I
I,
think
didn't-
I
I
think
think
so.
that was the Astros already. I think that was the first year for the Astros.
The funny thing is too, Rusty Staub played his majority of his years in his baseball career with the New York Mets. So it's kind of like a full circle moment, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the at bats that kid put up looked really well. Busted down the line too. If it was a ground ball, which I would think you would expect from every rookie when they're in their first year, I would say then maybe they'll fade off a little. But Cam Smith coming down the line, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, 30 miles per hour. That's pretty damn fast. But I mean, the kid's tall. He got to that long stride. Um, so of course he's gonna find a way. I'm pretty sure he could bunt maybe and get a hit and be an infield single like Jeremy Pena. But it's nice to see the Rook get his first hit out the way. The next thing up for him is gonna be that long ball, and I predicted for him to hit his first home run in his first game, but it did not go that way.
As expected.
I mean, it is expected, but at the same time, you never know. Christian Campbell of the Red Sox already hit his first home run
Yeah.
in his
Yeah.
second game. It's something like that with baseball, dude. It's like their rookies, their first at bat or their first game, they always get that home run out the way. It's just so weird. So that's why I felt a little bit confident that he was going to get it done. Hey, overall, though, with your takes, what did you see with him? I know you were out there offensively, defensively. Give us some insight.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did. I think he did a great job. I mean, shit, like a rookie like Cam Smith, he's young. Uh, I didn't expect him to be like going like 2 for 3, 2 for 4 every game, right? But he did like what I was looking for is mature at bats, and I think he did. He crossed that box out. Just the second game, he worked 2 walks. Just being patient out there. Some young hitters tend to get kind of antsy out there and start swinging at sliders on the way because they look like fastballs just because they're trying to do something, right? So the fact that he has a great eye, great vision, although I'm sure it's not the series he wanted. He did get his major league hit, right? But
Mhm.
other than that, I think you gotta just be patient with him, like I said earlier, and the production will come. It's just a matter of him seeing major league pitching. It's a lot different seeing spring training pitching in spring training in the minor leagues and major leagues. I think it's a little bit faster. All these guys coming in, throw hard, they can hit their spots. So it's just gonna get some time to get used to, but I think he should be good.
Yeah, just to remind people, 1 for 5 in this series with 2 walks and 1 strikeout. Like I said, he puts up big league at bats. He's gonna make you work the count. He's done that really good this series. Defensively, I don't know if he got any action in right
He
field.
uh he tried to do a diving, like a little sliding catch. He missed it, but I think that's just him trying to be aggressive, not just on the offensive but on defensive as well, trying to make a play. Uh I think that one was one where it just lands in front of you, just scoop it up, take the hit. But I think he tried, make the catch out there. Like again, like a young player would. But again, just getting comfortable out there, he should be no worries there.
Yes, I think he's just going to do just fine. Of course, he's going to have Justin Verlander with 42 years old, and him being 22. It's going to be interesting. Chazzy B, Cam Smith has some catching up to do with Kristen Campbell, Max Muncy, and Jacob Wilson, the Rookie of the Year race. Campbell, particularly with Boston, with a great opening series. Campbell, I mean, I will say that too because I do have him on my fantasy team, so I can speak a little bit more for Campbell. I mean, he's looked really good. I mean, I remember seeing one play that he did a diving play in left and the ball came out of his glove. Um, but that just to testify these athletes, man, they're so young and you could put them, and we've talked about this in the infield and the outfield. Campbell's the same way. He was a middle infielder coming up, and now you're seeing him some action in the outfield just for the fact that you got Trevor Story at short. You could plug Cedon Rafaela at second. So that's just great for them just to see the versatility. Jacob Wilson too. I believe last year he was starting off hot and then he got hurt and then played the tail end of that last part of the season. Then Max Muncy, I've heard there's a lot of good things about him, but yeah, that Rookie of the Year race is no joke for the American League. Another kid like Jackson Jobe um, for the Detroit Tigers as a starting pitcher. Jason Dominguez, of course, is still out there. So it's going to be interesting how this Rookie of the Year race goes. Remember, if Cam Smith wins the Rookie of the Year, the Astros will be awarded a top pick in the 2026 MLB draft. And like we had mentioned, I think that's going to help Houston just continue to build their farm system and build their repertoire, what they need, regards to pitching or positional needs. And that was going to be my next one coming up.
Oh,
Altuve almost
before
ran.
we go there,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, before we go to that, on Cam Smith having some catching up to do. Again, I wouldn't read too much of it in the first series of a game. Yeah, like it's a long season. The
Yes.
rookie of the year is now one in the like on one series. So I think, just getting some used to it. Like again, Christian Campbell, like we talked about Cam Smith, like he might start
Mhm.
slow and then get hot later, but Christian Campbell started hot, might slow down later too. So
Yep.
it's just, it's still an open race. There's no like nothing set in stone yet.
G-Man jams, but this is the one I wanted to get with because I was going to say that too. The first play of this game, besides Jerry Pena making a good catch at short, was in the first inning with Altuve getting that slicer. I don't know if it was from Pete Alonso or or it was no Juan Soto got base hit, so it had to be one of the other guys. But like what G-Man Jams was saying, Altuve almost ran into Myers. I don't like him in the outfield. I'd rather have Jordan out there than Jose Altuve. I think it's just going to be a time of adjustments for him, man. Of course, there was that play at the wall too that he jumped just a tad too early. I don't know if he would have honestly caught
I
it.
think so.
I don't think he would have. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you look at that replay, he jumped, the ball hit the wall, and then Jerry Pena was right there just to have that reassurance. And I think that's what the infield and the outfielders are just gonna do. With the Crawford boxes specifically, Jerry Pena might have to go cut a ball a little bit more. And then if they're playing out of town, let's say Altuve is playing left field, of course, Jake Myers is gonna do the same thing. But yeah, that was a very scary. That was kind of like a hold your breath moment if Altuve was gonna make an error in his first game and left, or it was just gonna be a great catch overall by the All Star.
I think for Altuve, it was just getting that first one out the way, especially again in a real major league game at Minute Maid Park, where it might be a little harder to play left field just because of that short porch. The ball moves all types. Could go everywhere just with the dimensions and angles there. But I think he just want to get one out the way. But I think he should be good. It'll only get better.
Yeah, the adrenaline's pumping right there. So you just want to get that play out the way. It builds your confidence too as a player. If you make a good play, I mean, your confidence is sky up there. For me at least, when I was playing, we get that play out the way. Bam! Next thing you know, that confidence just keeps on building, building. Regarding either defense or offense, it still builds your confidence going into your at bats or the next play whenever you're on the field. But a little thing that we got to talk about too was the Astros getting Tony Perez Chica this offseason just for the base running philosophy. And the Astros just did that with some great base running, aggressive base running, really, in this first game. Like I had mentioned, when Cam Smith hit that ball to the right side, Jerry Pena turned on the wheels and went to first to third. I don't know what had happened from that time, but the bases were loaded. Jake Myers comes up, beats the throw to first on a fielder's choice. And honestly, the Mets get that double play, ends the inning, and that doesn't allow the Astros to score a run. So seeing the guys busted down the line, including Christian Walker, I think Astro fans got to settle down with this guy. We'll talk a little bit more at this end of this series about him. But he hustles down the line too. A big boy. That's a big guy going down the line, hustling on a double play and kind of put pressure on. Is Luis Acuna, Luis Angel, a rookie, or is this going to be his second year? I want to say he's a rookie still.
I think he had a few games under his belt last year, but I think he's still considered
That's what I'm
a
saying. He
rook.
made his debut
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. So rookie status still intact through 2025. So he's still a rookie. I think he only played 14 games last year.
Yeah, well, the veteran put pressure on the rookie. The rookie made a bad throw that allowed the Astros to score a run and put Walker at second. So that's what you're going to see, I think, in this 2025. They did talk about it last year regarding Joe Spot had said in spring training that they're going to get very aggressive in the base running. Now you add a guy like Perez Chica, a coach that's done that with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and that's what they were doing this whole time in this series, I would say overall, not just specifically in game one, but trying to put pressure on the outfielders to make a good throw, putting the pressure on the infielders to get that cut and then make a good throw. Man, we're going to talk about game three here in a minute, but Paredes was scoring from first all the way to home. So
Yeah,
that's
that
a good
was
sign to see. Yeah, he, like Chazzy B had said, push Isak on the game-winning double from Jordan. Isak scored from first, which will hardly ever happen. We never know. Them Wills be talking sometimes, but yeah, you're going to see a lot of aggressiveness from this Houston team, I will say, this season.
yeah. And honestly, I was kind of surprised when they did send uh Isaac Perez. I mean, it was a deep double. However, you know, it bounced off the wall. Like it gave the outfielder a really good chance, but it was just I think that was one on Isaac Perez getting a good read on the ball and like just taking off as soon as he knew it was gonna be, a double instead of just like staying there watching what's gonna happen. So, that's just again just baseball minds right there.
Yeah, I think Series 2 kind of fumbled
Yeah.
the transition of it, and then Francisco de Lindor didn't make a good throw. But it is just good to see that the aggressiveness, even though Isak is not known for his base running, he's still going to do whatever it takes to get that run. And sure enough, that's what the Astros needed in game three. But let's talk about game two before we get to game three. And the offense was just not there. Bats were cold. The only run the Astros did score was a Jordan RBI sac fly. That's good to see. But besides the offense not coming clutch because they did lose that game 3-1 after the Astros did win 3-1. Hunter Brown, he looked good, and this is me still saying it. I think he's going to be the ace of this franchise later on. And 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. It wasn't bad. I think the offense just was cold, just didn't have its thing against. Who was pitching game two? If you can elaborate on that, I don't know.
Uh, I think it was Taylor McGill.
Yeah, Taylor McGill was pitching that game. Usually, like you had mentioned in the last pitching preview, that the Astros do really well against McGill. But it's kind of them things that he did his scouting report, the Astros did theirs, and Miguel came out and won that battle against the offense.
Yeah, I
But
mean, just tip your cap to McGill there. He really dominated the actual lineup.
yeah, he did. And we'll talk about another pitching duel that was really well here in a second. But Hunter Brown, let's go to his, just dive a little deeper on his outing. Gave up a home run to Juan Soto, which honestly, if you go and look at that at bat against Soto, so you tip your cap to Soto because he hit that ball over like above the strike zone. The ball was located above and in on him. He just turned his hands and man, he almost hit to the second deck.
And that was the second at bat, and Hunter Brown did get the best of Juan Soto in that first at bat. He really, he got him uncomfortable. I think he got him looking too, and then just
Yeah, it
Juan
was a
Soto
change
being
up.
Juan,
It was change up low and down. Correct.
yeah, and just Juan Soto being Juan Soto adjusted, and got the pitch he wanted, hit it at the park.
I best believe MLB was ready to make that contact for the New York Mets and Juan Soto again, his first home run as a Met. But I mean, like I said, tip your cap. That's why this is one of the best players in MLB, and he's getting paid 700 for a reason. Not to mention too that first inning from Hunter Brown, he honestly should have struck out the side, but the home plate umpire did not give him the call against Pete Alonso. I will say too, the umpire behind the plate was very inconsistent for both sides, not just Hunter Brown in general, but even for Taylor McGill and the Mets pitching staff as well as the Astros pitching staff. But another key play in this series, specifically going for the defensive and pitching side, was that error made by Brendan Rodgers. You don't see that coming from a Gold Glover, but if you look at the replay, Rodgers kind of took his eye off the ball. Hunter Brown had him down, picked off Brandon Nimmo going to second, and Rodgers just took his eye off the ball and tipped his glove and wasn't able to get him out. Next thing you know, that led a rally for the Mets.
Mhm.
Not Taylor, Mark Vientos double, and then a Jesse Winker RBI single. So stuff like that, walks and errors really kill a pitcher and really your whole team. If you don't make the plays, then the other opponent is just going to try to capitalize in it, and that's sure enough what the Mets did.
Yep, Eric leads 2 runs, and I was there. The game for game two, because after that, the offense to make up for that error that they made.
Yes, but it was a clean
But
game going into.
before we move on, what do you think of Brendan Rodgers starting the first 2 games or Mauricio Dubon? I think everybody going in uh kind of just assumed that Mauricio Dubon was going to get the opening day start at um at second base, but then Rodgers started back-to-back games there. The media asked Joe Espada about it, and he said just because Brandon Rodgers started opening day doesn't mean like he's gonna be the starter. But then he started them, and like that was game 1, right? And then game 2 started Brandon Rodgers again. So, what's your opinion on that? Like, is it? I know we texted out there, but just so you can let the fans know, is that Brandon Rodgers' position to lose, or you think it should be a straight platoon?
I think Rogers is going to get the position just as much as Dubon. Like you mentioned, it's kind of his position to lose. I think when the Astros are trying to be a better defensive team, you want the best defensive players out there. And I'm not saying Mauricio Dubon is not a good defender, but maybe Rogers has a better bat than Dubon. I believe Rogers had a better spring offensively than Doobie did in spring training. So I mean, you could see some different ways of how he's going to construct this lineup, how he's going to construct a game. Like for instance, I forgot it was game 3. It was yesterday's game 3, and the Astros did some substitutions. I believe Mauricio Dubon went to left field, Chas McCormick went to right field, and Brendan Rodgers came in at second base. So I like the way Espada is handling this right now. He's not giving positions up for everybody. Of course, I think it's just going to be like we had mentioned a long time ago. Whoever's hot is going to be in there,
Yeah.
regardless. But I love the versatility that this team has, just for the fact in late game situations you can put a Gold Glove utility man in the outfield when you need to, or put a Gold Glove defensive second baseman at second base when you could do you can move around players and plug and play kind of thing.
Yeah, well, Espada did that on opening day too when the Astros were winning. I think late in games, like for example, Cam Smith was in right field, but he was replaced by Chas McCormick. So
Yes.
what's what it's looking like is like guys like Brendan Rodgers, Cam Smith will be in there, consistently. But when it's a close game, and we see plenty of managers do this as well. Like seventh inning on, they put their best defensive lineup on there to conserve the lead. So I think that's what you might be seeing. So and like how you were saying about the versatility, like it could also be Dubon out there, or like if Brendan Rodgers is starting a second, or we can see Chas McCormick or Jake Myers if he has an off day, come in and substitute, even for Altuve too,
Yeah.
because like you might want Chas McCormick out there instead of Altuve just in those late in games, or you move Altuve to second. Just having all that flexibility, I think it's good, especially for late in games when you try to seal that victory.
And I think the Astros just didn't have that last season. I mean, nothing against Greg Kissinger, but they had him at short, usually just an infielder. And regardless, of course, with the first base situation, you had John Singleton when Jose Abreu wasn't doing too well. Then there was a time that you had to figure out who was going to play first after they DFA'd Abreu. You had Yainer Diaz getting some reps over there. You had Victor Caratini getting some reps at first. Now with Houston this season, you got a Gold Glover in Christian Walker, and to replace him, just in case he needs a day off or he comes from an injury or he's on an injury, you got a guy like Zach DeZenzo that had a really good spring that can play the corners as well. And then two, if you got to relieve some time from first base with DeZenzo, you could put one of the guys like Caratini or Diaz or even Dubon. So I just love how this team is so versatile compared to last year's team, because it just helps Houston in late game situations, more specifically how we're going to put out the best defense. Just like how the Astros did in them years with A.J. Hinch and Dusty Baker. A.J. Hinch would go and put Jake Marisnick in center field in some situations. So I think this is just really good, even though second base isn't really a starting position for either Rodgers or Dubon. I just think right now you're going to see Rodgers take more of it, and then as the season goes on, whoever's hot, I think it's just they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know who was hot on Saturday night, which is weird. It was Thursday, and then they were off Friday, and then they played Saturday, Sunday, but they changed it. I don't know if it was because the PGA Tour at the Houston Open, but it was a pitcher's duel. It was a hot one over there on Saturday night for both pitchers. Griffin Canning, which the Astros have seen him a lot in his times with the Los Angeles Angels. He looked like a different pitcher, and he really had Houston off balance in a lot of places, and his pitchers were looking really good. So it's like another thing, like you had mentioned, Angel, just you got to tip your cap. He pitched well against Houston, but Spencer Arrighetti was the pitcher of the night, the king of the diamond now that Fox is doing. Like just like Tom Brady doing the LFG player of the game, well, I guess John Smoltz has that chance to do the same thing of doing a king of the diamond type of thing. But Spencer Arrighetti, man, very electric. And this is a guy that we talked about that his stuff has to be on point. If his stuff is on point, he is looking like a Cy Young pitcher. And that is very bold of me to say. But when his stuff is on point, command is good, velocity on the fastball is just right, this guy could be a Cy Young. And sure enough, I mean, this is Cy Young worthy. 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. The only hit coming upon was Juan Soto. And this is like literally Juan Soto versus the Astros, at least offensively. But the earned run, man, before I get that, 12 swing and misses, not to mention, which we talked about, his strikeout per 9 innings is just off the charts. It was literally second in rookie pitching to Paul Skeens last year. So that's how much of this stuff that this kid has is just going to get him better. But let's go back to the run that he gave up, because he really could have had a clean sheet on his stat line, but he did give up a run to not only the former Astro himself, Jose Siri, and Siri literally took every bag in that situation. He stole second, tagged to go to third from second to third, and then that play, that it was a comebacker. I think to credit the defense for the pitchers this series. Hunter Brown got some work done on the mound, as well as Eric getting these balls that were hit back to them. So they did a really good job getting off the mound and throwing it to first. But if Arrighetti, I mean, he did a good job. And if you look at that replay, Victor Caratini and Christian Walker pointed to third to make sure he looked at Siri before he threw it, and he did. He just kind of just softened that throw that I didn't think he was going to do it. Of course, pitchers' minds are different too. If they throw it hard and then it could go past the first baseman and all that. But Arrighetti kind of like slowly tossed it to him, to Walker at first base. Walker got it, threw it to Caratini, and they just couldn't get Siri out. El Rayo for a reason. He's electric, as you had heard in this series on the Fox commentator. But I think it's a lesson learned from him. And he even said it himself. Joe Spot had even said it himself. So not too concerned about that. PFPs looked really good for the pitchers this series. And Arrighetti just going to get better with this.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say Cy Young, but this is the part of Spencer Arrighetti's game that we talked about, command. When his command is on point, he can do stuff like this, which is against and we praised his New York lineup since last podcast. We said this is gonna be a deep lineup, a playoff team, like might be a playoff team that the Astros could basically make it to the World Series. But if they're gonna make it to the World Series, Spencer Arrighetti has to be this.
Yeah.
Has to show up, has to have the command, has to at least throw 5, 6 innings to help, the other rest of the pitchers. Because you saw when last year that bullpen was taxed towards the end of the year just because they had to come in earlier than expected. But if he can continue this going, he could be like again, maybe signing talks, but give him a year or two of this, and I wouldn't be surprised that happens. But he really showed out, and this was a surprise to me because as training, he was kind of like struggling with command a little bit. We kind of talked about that, like he needs to fix that, and sure enough, he did. And like you said, could have had a clean sheet, just took that nonchalant toe, and Joe Spada, I think, was seen on on TV talking about it as well. So should be handled from now on.
Yeah, this was my hot take. I can see Spencer Arrighetti getting some Cy Young votes. I'm not saying he's going to get 10 or 20 or whatever the criteria is for Cy Young. I do see maybe 1 or 2, just like you say Kikuchi did last year. He got 1 Cy Young vote from the American League Cy Young voting for that, being the Cy Young winner. But yeah, Arrighetti looked really good. He looked really good. And I just think if he has a calm heartbeat like we were talking about, because he's anxious on that mound, he's ready to get going. He even heard in his post-game interview with John Smoltz, and he was ready to get through it. And sure enough, I mean, one of the best lineups in baseball, and this is your first full season as a starting pitcher. I do like him in this 3 spot in this rotation, I will say. I don't know how you feel about it, but the way he pitched today could show me that, hey, if Framber Valdez leaves after this year, at least me personally, I don't think I would be worried if you're an Astros fan, just for the fact you have that 1-2 punch in Hunter Brown and Spencer Arrighetti.
Yeah, I mean, in a 3rd spot, he's fine right now. I mean, I'm not saying he has to throw 1 hitters every outing, right? But just giving the Astros a chance and reducing the pitch count so he can stay later in games. I think he can do that. Yeah, I think a 1-2-3 punch for the playoffs could be great.
Yeah, and you've seen the stuff he has in the second half of that season last year. So the potential's there for this kid. It's just if he can do it for a full 162 game season. Of course, he's not going to pitch 162 games, but 20 something starts more than anything. But it's just a good thing to see from a guy like this. He's ready to take that. I would say even taking a leadership role. He's very mature, very knowledgeable. He's always, welcoming feedback, and he looks really good as of this first start. I'm not saying that he's going to be Cy Young, but this was my hot take. This was my bold prediction that Spencer Arrighetti could get some Cy Young votes. And if he pitches like this, the league is on notice. The American League, the division of the AL West too, is on notice. But, Angel, we finally got a first extra base hit for the Houston Astros. Can we have an applause? Clap and hands. It took to game 3 for this team that has Jose Altuve, Isar Paredes, Yordan Alvarez, Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz. And you know who gets the first extra base hit? Coming from Jeremy Pena, putting a good swing on a slider that was over the plate. And he dropped the ball. And that home run to the first row of the Crawford Boxes, that would have been 6 out of 30 parks. Shout out to the Crawford Boxes at Dyken Park for getting the Astros on the board. If it even hit the wall, that's going to be a double for him regardless. So it was good to see Pena put a good swing. This is a guy, too, that's going to be a huge factor for this lineup, especially that mid to end part of the batting order.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Jeremy Pena. I think we saw a little bit of a Jeremy Pena breakout last year. I think he's just adding to that. I expect a good season for Jeremy.
Yeah, good spring, and it looks like it's carrying on.
Would you
And
say? Would you expect an All Star season for Jeremy Pena?
it's potential. I mean, he has the potential to do it.
Mhm.
Honestly, he does. And if he, like I had mentioned, if he hits the way he did in spring and it's carrying on to this regular season as of right now, I mean, sky's the limit for this kid.
Yeah,
He can honestly do it. I mean, I would say though the American League has a lot of all-star guys at shortstop, but you never know. If he's having one of the best seasons, at least in the mid part of summer, why not give him a shot in the Midsummer Classic?
yeah, and he's gonna get pitches to hit in that fifth, sixth spot, just because of the guys in front of him. Like the pitchers are gonna trend lightly with those top guys, and they're gonna come after the Peñas, the Diaz's, the Smiths, right? So you just gotta, just gotta prove it. He's gonna get good pitches to hit there, and you just gotta put him in play.
Yeah, batting 200 so far this season, 2 for 10 to start off that series. But next inning, Yordan Alvarez, and in Yordan Alvarez fashion, a 416-foot double to the right center gap. 416-foot, Angel. That ball would have been home run in 23 out of 30 ballparks. So Jerry
Hey,
Pena's line rocket
baseball's a weird
to,
sport.
I know, the line rocket to the Crawford Boxes, 6 out of 30 ballparks, and then you get a 416-foot double for Yordan Alvarez, 23 out of 30 ballparks. We kind of already hit that part of Isaac Paredes scoring from first to home. I just, like I said, base running this season for the Astros is going to be very, very aggressive now with a new base running philosophy with Tony Perez Chica at third.
Yeah. So,
However, before we move on to our pitching preview for the San Francisco Giants, some overall takes for the Astros this series. Do we want to start with the good? Do we want to start with the bad? We want to start with the mid. Go
let's
with the
start
mid,
with
I
the good.
guess.
Start
Okay,
with
we
the
can
good.
start with the good. Pitching. Pitching has looked phenomenal. And besides, we already talked about the starters, only giving up 2 earned runs against a team like that. Gotta give credit to the bullpen, man. Bullpen really did a good job. Taylor Scott, Stephen O'Curr, Brian King, Luis Contreras obviously pitched that game 2 when they relieved Hunter Brown. Taylor Scott only did 2/3 and only giving up 1 hit. Stephen O'Curr, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Brian King, an inning and a third, 2 strikeouts. Luis Contreras, an inning and 2 strikeouts. You see that trend of strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Really good stuff. Of course, I think it's just going to see who's going to battle for that 7th spot in this position for the bullpen because, of course, you already know 8 and 9 is holding it down with Brian Abreu, which he had 2 innings, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. I think he has to fix that, but not very concerned if you're a Nationals fan because you've seen how the way he pitches and how the way he handles himself. Josh Hader, what a at bat he did against Juan Soto. That one was one of the best at bats, I would say. Well, won the both going cat and mouse game between a MVP in Juan Soto and an all-star in Josh Hader. And sure enough, Hader got the best of him the first time with that slider away, check swing, obviously went over the plate. Astros win the game. Next one comes up, Josh Hader. I want to say he walked Juan Soto, but it was a 3-2 count still, just like in game 1. And sure enough, Hader just slammed the door, 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but Josh had to put himself in that situation too. I think Abreu and Hader both loaded up the bases and I got out of it. So I think the clean little ups could be, just some nerves, or anything like that. But I think that should get better too.
Yeah, 6 walks combined from the 8 and 9 guys like Taylor Scott, Stephen O'Curr, Brian King, Luis Contreras. I think that's just a good sign to see those type of guys in the middle relief to getting to that back end of that bullpen. It's just good for Houston to see, especially Joe Spot, to see where he can put this guy and this guy when it comes to different types of late game situations. Next up, the Astros need to do a better job of runners in scoring position, and this has been a tale of two of seeing
2 3
Houston to
seasons.
do this.
It's like the last 2 3 seasons.
Yeah, you've seen this from the Astros continuously struggle with runners in scoring position. Thursday 1 for 8, Friday 0 for 5, and I believe Saturday they were 0 for 4, 0 for 6. So Astros got to find a way to do a better job with that, regarding with guys, on second and third, runner on second, guys that are going to be in scoring position, like it says in the stat RISP. So not too concerned, like we had mentioned, it's buried the first series of the season for the Astros. Um, I will say another good for the Astros is close games. They've handled themselves really well. Winning that game 3-1 on Thursday, obviously losing that game 3-1 on Saturday, but Sunday 2-1 game, and the Astros did a really good job holding their ground. Pitching did a phenomenal job, like we had continued to preach about it, and just the offense being able to find a way to get that winning run across and let the pitching do it themselves.
Yeah.
But to end it off, best is yet to come for Christian Walker and Esau Paredes. I've seen a lot of social media talk about Christian Walker is like another Jose Abreu. Don't
That's
like
not.
it. Don't
That's
like
not.
that. No, it's not true. 1 for 12, 4 strikeouts is his stat line so far. Paredes is 1 for 9 with 3 walks, two runs. Uh, Paredes could have actually had a double on that one hit against the Crawford boxes, but of course with his speed, and I believe he probably didn't want to take a chance. But you see the play discipline that he displays: 3 walks. He works the count a lot, honestly. 2-2 counts, 3-2 counts. He works the count, and that's what I say that puts him in that second spot between Altuve and Jordan Alvarez, and he's done a good job doing that. Of course, the hits haven't got there yet, but like I said, you just got to be patient with this guy.
Yeah. Good things will come for those two guys. And again, just getting some use. It's early in the season, one series. Like I said about the rookie of the year, one series and define a team. But you know, the light at the end of the tunnel is closer. It's getting closer and closer, so it should be good. Not
Yeah,
worried
and
about
real
that.
quick, just to pinpoint on Walker real quick, a lot of his balls were 100 plus
Oh
exit
yeah,
velocity.
hit
Like
into some bad
it
luck.
just was at to somebody. So I mean, that's baseball. Period.
Yeah,
You're gonna run into some bad luck, and sure enough, Walker's doing it right now. I think the gears are gonna be grinding for these two later on, and I think the Astros are just gonna be in a good position. Jordan Alvarez too hasn't really hit really well, like everybody has seen him through the years. So, like I said, very patient. Don't got to be too worried. I would say about them two newly acquired Astros. Be patient; they'll be just fine.
yeah, I think so too. But moving on to the series that's coming up with the San Francisco Giants versus the Houston Astros. Justin Verlander won't be on the mound, but he will be in attendance for the game. So a little reunion there. You think they'll put it? Do you think they'll put him on the big screen and the fans will give him an ovation, or what do you think?
Possibly. I already feel like they
Yeah.
did that for the Mets when he came from New York. But yeah, possibly they could probably do it again with San
Yeah.
Francisco.
I'm not expecting another tribute video or anything like that, but
Maybe
just
some
maybe
highlights,
like a
that's
little.
like a 30-second
Yeah,
highlight.
yeah. So, but Monday's game is a 7:10 start time. Houstonian Jordan Hicks versus Ronel Blanco. Jordan Hicks is a 6-year vet, but it was only his this year will be his second season as a full-time starter. Last year he started 20 out of 29 games. Wasn't pretty. 4.7 record, 4.10 ERA, 96 walks. A big thing with Jordan Hicks is when he came into the league, he was known for throwing one of the fastest fastballs, 105 miles per hour. From 2018 to 2023, his fastball actually averaged 100 miles or a tad bit over 100 miles per hour. In 2024, though, his fastball went down drastically, averaging 94.6 miles per hour. A big change there, and that's what got him into a lot of trouble. Injuries played a part in that as well. Like, and now he relies a little bit more on movement, tries to get, kind of like Framber Valdez a little bit, relies on that sinker to get those ground balls, but he's been struggling with that as well because that sinker was hit. Uh, the opponent batting average on that sinker was in the 300. So, and it's just command with him too. But the Astros should see a lot of sinkers and sweepers with him. He'll be going against Ronel Blanco, again, 31-year-old right-hander, started 29 out of 30 games. You saw what he did last year. No hitter, 13-6 record, 2.80 ERA, 166 strikeouts, relied heavy on the changeup. Well, on his off speed and breaking pitches, honestly, because the opponent batting average was 1.88 on the changeup, 1.80 on the slider. Now, this is the starter that I'm kind of curious about. It's like the league does a great job of using their analytics, using their video on guys, and you saw kind of Ronel Blanco find him pitch himself into some trouble in the second half of the year. Now again, fresh year, they had the off season, a longer off season than they usually have too, to kind of recover.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to see how which Ronel Blanco the Astros get, especially because it seems to me either Ronel Blanco, Hayden Wazensky, those are the two guys, but I'm leaning more Blanco. Once McCullers gets healthy or Christian Javier gets healthy, one of those guys may be the odd man out. So
Mhm.
I wonder how he'll come out. I'm expecting a good outing, but will he be as dominant as he was last year? That's what I'm curious to see.
Yeah, and I want to say too with him as well. You talked about what you're going to look with him. Obviously, the off speeds look really well against opponent batting average, but the biggest thing for me is the walks. And I want to see
Yeah.
him limit those walks. He kind of averaged around 4 to 5, maybe even 3. But I think that's going to be a key part of Blanco this season is limiting the walks, let the defense take control. I'm not sure if he's a fly ball or a grounder type of pitcher, but yeah, it's going to be interesting when it comes to the odd man out situation when McCullers comes back, Christian Javier comes back. I think it's just going to see who's like we were just talking about with Dubon and Rodgers. Who's going to be hot? Is Wisniewski still going to be pitching really good? Is Blanco going to be pitching really good? And you're correct with the analytics and how the way teams go and look at their sheets and prepare for pitchers like a guy like Blanco. So Blanco too himself, he's going to have a new season. This is going to be his second full season as a starter, and he's going to have to make some adjustments as well. And I think the biggest one, besides seeing if he could be a horse throughout this season, is just seeing a way if he could limit them walks and continue getting the ground ball and with strikeouts as well.
Yeah, his walks per nine was 3.7. Strikeouts to nine, 8.9. So again, averaging like three, four, almost four walks a game, like you said. So uh, the command has to be with him, like, especially kind of limiting his pitch count as well too. So which Bruno Blanco would the Astros get? We'll tune in tomorrow. Let's see. But Tuesday's matchup against 7:10 start time. I'm interested to see Logan Webb pitch. Logan Webb has been pretty phenomenal, been in the Cy Young conversation for the past 2 years. He'll be going against newly acquired Astro Hayden Wazensky, who himself is also a Houstonian too. But Logan Webb, that's the definition of a workhorse. He was a 2024 All Star. He started an MLB high 33 games and pitched an MLB high 204.2 innings pitched. So he's going to go out there, get you some long innings. Definition of a workhorse. 13-12 record, 3.47 ERA a year ago. Now he's kind of like a mixture of Framber Valdez and Jordan Hicks, where he relies on movement of his pitches. You're going to see a lot of sinkers, sweepers, cutters, and changeups. He rarely throws a fastball. You probably will see it once, maybe, or not even once at all. So a lot of movement, but I think practicing and seeing Framber Valdez during spring training, kind of those exhibition games, I think can help the Astros. And he did pitch. This will be his second start for Logan, where he was the San Francisco Giants opening day starter. On opening day, he pitched 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So it wasn't as efficient as he usually is. However, Houston would counter with Hayden Wazensky. Like I said, he's from Houston. Now, talk about a career for Hayden Wazensky. He had a roller coaster of a season 2024, was flip-flopped from the minor leagues to the majors. Also from the bullpen to the starting rotation, he pitched into and 28 games. 7 of those were starts. He had a 3-6 record with 3.86 ERA, 67 strikeouts, 21 walks. Now, in order for Hayden Wazensky to have success, he's going to have that fastball sweeper combo. especially the sweeper is going to get those right-handed batters out, especially from his arm angle on there. It's kind of like, oh, not wonky, but just a different arm angle than most pitchers. Uh, Last year his sweeper had an opponent batting average of 1.74. So this is the guy. I mean, I'd say from that Kyle Tucker return, the fans have seen the potential of Cam Smith. They see what Isaac Perez can do, and I think this is the guy that the Astros fan may be wondering. I was like, are you going to get a starter in him? Is he going to be a consistent back end starter, or is he going to be more of a bullpen piece? Well, the Astros are going to get their first glimpse of Hayden Wozniacki, and do you have any predictions, or what do you think, or what are you expecting from Wozniacki? Stuff.
I just love his stuff. He has he has good electric movement in his off speeds, and that's going to be key for him. I will say, of course, the velocity on the fastball is really good as well. I think he's touched 97, but the off speeds is what makes him a guy that has a high strikeout per 9 innings. He has some
Yeah,
nasty stuff. You've seen in spring training as well. He had like 5 strikeouts in 2 innings. So he got a lot of movement with swing and misses coming after with the opponent players at the plate. So for me, it's just going to be the off speeds. Is the command going to be efficient? If it's efficient, then you're going to have no problem with guys either chasing. And if they're not chasing, you're just going to make adjustments at the end of the day. I wanted to talk a little bit just on Logan Webb. I wonder if he's already getting that's a lot. MLB high 33 games,
yeah.
204 innings. Like, you don't think that's going to come and bite him in the butt this coming year just for the fact that he's pitched so many games? You saw that with Brian Abreu last year. He did it.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a decent job, but remember, 22, the Astros won the World Series. Then came the World Baseball Classic, and then that season came upon as well. So I don't know if he's going to get fatigued maybe later on the season, and we're getting too ahead of ourselves. But yes, Logan Webb is a all-star for a reason. He is an ace for a reason, and I think that's what makes an ace as well. Being able to be really consistent with your off speeds and not just on your rely on your fastball. And Logan Webb has done a really good job doing that in his time in San Francisco. So this is a good matchup just
Yeah.
for off speeds, I would say.
I I think this matchup right here has the potential to be a pitching duel again, just like you might see like a low scoring game, just because both guys have great stuff. I think Logan Webb just consistently pounding the strike zone, but Wozniacki just with the movement he has, especially from that arm angle, so it could make it difficult for some hitters. So
To
okay,
me,
a good
to
matchup.
me, yeah, to me for me, it's gonna be who's gonna make the first mistake.
Yeah,
Who's going to leave that breaking ball over the plate and have the whatever team do some damage on it? So whoever makes the
yeah,
first mistake in this start is going to be a long day, maybe on the mound.
yeah. And to me, I think the advantage right there would be for Wozniacki because the Astros lineup 1 through 6, you can even say it's pretty deep, but there has been some inconsistencies with the San Francisco lineup. Yeah, you have I think his name Jung Ho Lee, you have Willie Adames, you have guys that can easily tear the cover off the ball, but it's just being consistent over there in San Francisco. But going back to fatigue, I think for Logan Webb, that's really, I mean, the Giants didn't make the playoffs, so he had basically October, an extra month to recover to get right. So we'll see how it looks like. And then on Wednesday's matchup, it is a 3:05 game, so get there pretty early if you're going to be going there. Don't forget to ask for that, early exit off of work or whatever you got to do, right? It's going to be Landon Rope versus Framber Valdez. Landon Rope is a second-year pitcher. He made his debut last year. Last year, he only pitched He had 4 starts, 1-0 record. Now check this: he had a 3.75 ERA in 4 starts, 14 strikeouts, and only 1 walk. So
Yeah,
he's
he's
going to
like a
be
George
pounding.
Kirby, basically.
Yeah, he's going to be pounding the zone. So Astros hitters will need to be ready to hit because he's going to limit the walks. Now, the pitch that he throws the most, most pitchers throw their fastball the most, or something fast. Well, Brandon Rump throws the curveball the majority of the time, and I mean for a reason, has a 33.5 whiff rate percentage. Now, again, small sample size, 4 starts, but just know that he's not afraid to throw the curveball at any count, and that's going to be his bread and butter pitch to get out of a tough spot. And Houston again will counter with Framber Valdez, who like so just told you had a fantastic opening day start. Just if he missed the first part, it was 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Again, 1-0 record. Now against the Mets, that curveball was on fire. 60% whiff rate again on it. He led the way with his sinker, curveball, changeup, and slider.
Yeah, I think this what Giants lineup may have just two left-handed hitters in Yastrzemski and Jung Ho Lee, because Chappie is a right-hander, Damas is a right-hander, Wilmer Flores is a right-hander. So yeah, you're going to see some two of them like compared from this series against the Mets with Soto, Nimmo, Winker, all them left-handed hitters. You'll probably see just maybe two in this series. I'm interested to see how Framber comes back in his next start against the Giants. If he's going to be still efficient with that curveball, like you said, 60% whiff rates, pretty damn dominant. And for the Astros, Landon Root, like second year pitcher, coming into this season, that 14 strikeouts per 14 Ks to one walk ratio is insane. So he's very consistent, and his command is really well, I guess you can say, when it
I,
comes to pitching.
I think for Framber this time around, since the San Francisco lineup is pretty right-hander heavy, it's going to be the command of the sinker. If he can dominate with the sinker, I think he'll be pretty good.
Totally agree with that. But let's move on to the Astros injury updates. Not too much to go into with Luis Garcia. A lot of Lance McCullers talk. But Luis, of course, and I believe we said this earlier, but if you haven't heard after seeing doctors on that his elbow, on his sore elbow, he was going to have to seek a second opinion. I want to say it was decent news for the Astros. Don't quote me on this, but I
Yeah, it
believe,
was.
okay, so I
Uh,
believe it was good news on that part.
yeah, Joe Spot didn't really elaborate. When asked on opening day, he said they received decent, I put quotation mark decent because
Decent
that's
news. Correct.
what he said, but he didn't want to elaborate too much on it. He said they are getting a second opinion just to see if you know if what the first doctor said can go with what the second doctor will say.
Like I said, this won't be a huge loss for the Astros, but it will be a big loss because you saw last season pitching as well as in 23 when they need pitchers to step up. So pitching really helps. The depth at least helps a lot for this team, and who they're going to need coming back pretty soon. And we both believe in late May is going to be Lance McCullers Jr. The last time we talked to you, he was supposed to throw a rehab in Sugarland, and he sure did that, which was today. If you're listening to this on Monday, he did it on Sunday. 35 pitches, 20 strikes, 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Struck out the side in the first inning, so that was very encouraging to see. Topped out at 94.9 miles per hour, which really that's 95 if anything. So sinker looked good, fastball looked good. You saw more of that in the first inning, and then the second inning is when he started kind of using a little bit more of his off speeds, like the slider and, of course, that famous curveball, 24 curveballs to say. But McCullers did meet with the media after, and he had talked about his start today. And this is a quote from him. Overall, I'm really happy with the way I felt today. My stuff was where I expected it to be and held through 2 innings. I felt strong after the second and could have continued, which in any rehab is a huge sign. Some small items to work through with are my tempo, out of my stretch, but all positive things to continue building through my rehab. Very positive to see because the last time we saw McCullers in at least talking about the Astros fans getting to see McCullers in a game was that spring training game. It had pitched in over 800 days, and he threw 11 pitches. I'm not sure. And he threw 33 pitches in that minor league game on Monday, which I was trying to figure out. He threw 35 pitches today, 20 of them being strikes. So it's a good, encouraging sign. Of course, with him, and you've preached this about McCullers a lot. You do not want to rush him into the starting rotation. You got guys that you can put up there. If you want to go into a 6-man, you got Ryan Gusto in the bullpen as well. But more than likely, you're going to have to continue seeing him ramp up his pitch count if the velocity is still there and the way he recovers after these starts. So, all encouraging signs looking at McCullers pitching so far. And you're on mute.
My fault. Yeah, great stuff from McCullers there. I think for his next rehab start, I'm looking at maybe 45 pitches, maybe 50.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't be surprised either if they give him a 35 pitch count again before ramping up to that. But yeah, I mean, positive sign there. Like, I still agree with your timetable, what you said about late May. I see that as like pretty good. And I honestly think he can come and fire into the league. I think just the adrenaline that he gets from being on the mound again, the anxiety. I'm sure some nerves will be there coming out again, but I think Lance McCullers is a dog and he's a fighter. And I think he'll come out and pay. I think he'll be. I lost the word. I think he'll be like a valuable asset to the Astros in this rotation. I think he's like many people expect him to kind of like just come in there and like allow runs and not be productive. But I think he'll be really productive for this rotation.
Yeah, I'm saying when this team gets healthy, they're gonna have a lot of depth, and I want to say that is a huge thing. If you're a team that's trying to compete in the postseason, and you're obviously the goal is to get to the World Series and win it. And Houston, with these last 2 years, that's what I'm saying. Like these last two seasons, they really haven't had consistent, healthy starters in that rotation. They either lost to McCullers not pitching, maybe some starts of having Verlander not pitch, losing Christian Javier and Jose Urquidy last year. So when this team is healthy, then you're looking at a good sign for this pitching rotation, and I would even say the relievers in the bullpen. And going into this season, that was more for the Astros. Strength was just having pitching depth for 2025. Blackie will be back into starting or bullpen spot. I think more than
Starting.
likely he'll be into a starting spot
Yeah.
regardless. I think that's where he's building up. I think that's where he's ramping into being. I want to say he had done an interview too in spring training when they asked him if he was going to be a starter, when he's going to be a bullpen, going in a relief role. And he had mentioned that it's hard to go from a starter and then change your mentality, change everything in your repertoire into a reliever in Major League Baseball. So I believe he's going to still start some games and follow up. And if so, what we do with our rotation, Blanco back to the bullpen. More than likely, yeah. It just depends on how he's doing this season. If he's doing really good, I wouldn't doubt the Astros put him back in the bullpen as that middle relief guy, a guy that has to go 2 or 3 innings when a starting pitcher is in trouble. That's a good guy to follow back with is Blanco. So more than
I,
likely, I think he'll probably be a middle relief guy.
yeah.
Remember too, Christian Javier's coming back. If McCullers comes back, and that's going to be an interesting part for Joe Spot and the Astros. I will say too, I won't be surprised if they go to more of a 6-man rotation this season.
I guess it's 6-man rotation, but if they want to do five, when McCullers comes back, I think it'll be between Wozensky or Reno Blanco. Just depends who has the hot hand there.
Mhm.
Both of those guys have experience being in that role. Again, like I said earlier,
Yep.
with Wozensky, 7 starts were he had 7 starts, but the rest came from the bullpen. So both guys have experience with that. I am leaning towards Blanco. I don't know why. I just I'm just leaning towards. But again, I think the Pants is pitching better. But like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, got to remember you're getting guys like Javier and McCullers more than as really Astro roster spots, and then you'll have JP France too if you want to put him back in with the major league roster. You keep him in AAA. Another key thing is like these guys are going to need some time to pitch some games, and that's the same thing with these positional players with Zach DeZenzo and Cam Smith in the beginning of the season. They were trying to figure out the playing time for them and how it's going to work this upcoming season, and both the spotter and Brown said they're both going to see regular playing time when it comes to the season. And sure enough, DeZenzo did play in Game 3 when Cam Smith got a day off. So, like I said, the depth that this team has, the versatility that this team has, it's just really encouraging for the Astros going into this season. That's why I said that this team could win the division just for the fact of the depth that they have compared to the Texas Rangers.
If the pitching can be consistent like it was in this series, I think I have a great chance of winning the division.
Exactly. And the way the bullpen right now is doing with these relievers, the way they pitch in this series, if they can continue doing like
Yeah,
that, this team is really, really dangerous when it comes to at least just pitching overall.
yeah. But moving on to around the horn, you know, a lot of stuff going on. Baseball back, and I guess let's start with one of the biggest news out there is the Yankees made history with torpedo bats. These are custom made bats that the team made, and the way they made it, it's kind of like they put the harder part of the wood on the top, so kind of like top heavy, just so the ball can fly faster or like get hit harder. And it showed out against the Milwaukee Brewers, who unfortunately had to be the experiment team. Nestor Cortez reunion, things were looking great, but 3 pitches by Nestor Cortez, 3 home runs. Now, Aaron Judge is not using a torpedo bat, but he still hit 3 home runs. So it's, I don't know, it might be just hitter's preference, but I don't know if you've seen, but they look kind of funky compared to the original bats. Or like, and like, what's your thought about the use of them too?
I mean, I like them. They look really cool, honestly. I mean, I haven't swung a torpedo bat because I don't know how it would feel. But just I mean, if you get good solid wood, good contact, good barrel action on that ball, man, and you've seen it in that series, it's gonna fly. I want to say almost every Yankee in that lineup has a home run, at least one. Jazz
Yeah.
Chisholm got a home run. Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, Aaron Judge has four freaking home runs.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'm sure you know that one.
yeah, I know because I'm going against him in fantasy baseball. Anthony Volpe is another guy that was on the home run board. Austin Wells, 6 out of the 9. I won't be surprised if Peraza had a home run too. I mean, that's insane. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what the league is going to say about this. I already had saw on a video too in the ESPN broadcast that the Braves are starting to order some of these torpedo bats. Taylor Taylor McGill, which is the brother. I don't know if it's Taylor or Tyler, one of them. The McGill brothers. You saw the brother of the Mets pitch against the Astros. Well, the other brother was pitching with the Brewers, and he had mentioned to the New York Post that it's the Yankees. They'll let it slide.
Yeah, I did
So
see that.
that is interesting to see what the league is going to do about these bats if they're going to look into more into them because you never seen something like this. You never seen
Yeah,
a barrel
honestly,
in the not the middle part, but of course where the barrel of the ball is supposed to be hit.
I'm not a fan of them. I just, to me, yes, pitching has gotten a lot better, but how pitching using like grip on their fingers was kind of like illegal, right? Because
Mhm.
it makes the pitch spin more. So why is something that's going to make the ball get hit harder be allowed on the offensive end? So it's just kind of finding that balance. Like if you're going to make it easier to barrel up a ball, then might as well make it easier for them to spin the ball a lot better. So that's where I'm at. Uh, I don't know. I guess I'm an old head when like for that. I just don't like the torpedo bats. I mean, I think it gives the hitters an advantage and
Yeah, you're
the
giving more.
pitcher.
Like you said, you're getting more advantage to the offensive part of this game. I mean, you're seeing too that MLB has like tested with different baseballs,
Yeah,
and sure enough, some have helped the pitchers, some have not helped the pitchers. And like you mentioned, this is kind of giving a advantage to the offensive teams.
yeah,
Maybe there's going to be more home run records set this season as a team. Um, but I honestly think the league should look into it just to like because if it was a cork bat, you wouldn't think they would look into that. Like,
yeah.
come on, like
I'm sure. That's
so.
what it kind of. That's what I was gonna mention. That's what it kind of gives. It's like kind of like a cork back, right? Which is kind
Mhm.
of like things off there. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But
Not
we'll
not
see
to
what happens
mention Yankee Stadium is a freaking
with the
high
short
school
porch.
field. Yeah, the short porch and right and really left 315 and right and 323 and left. So think about that. That just gives them more of an advantage. I'm not biased about the Yankees. I'm just that's the thing. Like you gotta keep it balanced. You gotta just see how the way that's gonna be with the rest of the teams in this league. If it's
Yeah,
if you're gonna allow everybody to do it, then screw it. Let everybody do it. But I know a lot of pitchers at least would. When you saw the Brewers, they were not pleased
yeah.
about it. And give Jordan a torpedo. See if he cracks the Astros franchise record in home runs set by Jeff Bagwell.
Or breaks the screen again.
Yeah, it might go back to the Michelob Ultra Club.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of them. But we'll see what happens with that. And the Dodgers, they were the World Series champions, so they had a championship ceremony, and it was a party in LA. Ice Cube came in a blue lowrider with the World Series trophy. I think that was pretty cool. The banners and the players wore their gold rush jerseys, and that was for opening day. And then the next night it was the ring ceremony. I don't know if you saw the box with the ring. It looks pretty nice. Not gonna lie, I think it spins. You know, the, the Dodgers popped off with that one.
Yeah, that has like the emblem of the score, like the scoreboard that they have,
Hmm.
and then the years they've won it. Yeah, it looks really nice. I don't think
Yeah,
Houston had did that when they came to giving out their rings. I
Sure.
think you've seen that the last 2 years with the Rangers and
Yeah,
the Dodgers.
yeah. But it looked nice. I'm gonna lie, it
Mhm.
looked nice. But I guess some not so positive news. Rafael Devers, the I think he was the head of the controversy of not willing to move to DH for Alex Bregman when he's saying that he's going to be the third baseman. Well, that whole offseason fiasco in Boston, Rafael Devers didn't get his way. Alex Bregman obviously was going to be the starting third baseman, which it is, and Rafael Devers moved to DH, and I ain't having a rough start. I don't know what's a mental thing of being in DH. Just kind of not be not focused, but just kind of being on the bench while the defenses don't kind of affect the players. Or he did have a slow spring because of some shoulder injuries he was dealing with. I don't know what it is. Could be one or the other, but he's not catching up to the fastball. He is the first player to strike out 12 times in the team's first 4 games of the season. So
Yeah.
not a pretty start for Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox, but I think he'll pick it up. I think it's just catching up to the fastball. Like if that's what it is, I think once he gets his timing down, he'll be a good hitter.
Yeah, the Rangers took two, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Excuse me?
I said the Rangers took two in that series against Boston, correct?
Three. They're 3-1.
Oh, it was a 4 game series.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, that's not a good start for the Boston Red Sox, especially if they can't get this guy going. Man, it's going to be a long season for them because
Yeah.
Rafael Devers is, in my opinion, that's their franchise player.
That's
And
your best hitter.
yeah, if your franchise player cannot hit the ball, then it's going to be a big loss in that lineup because he's honestly he's an MVP dark horse if he's hitting the ball good. And like you were mentioning too, it could be a mental thing, man. I think it's mentally getting him that he may say not, but it could be just for the fact that third base was his position and they just gave it to a guy that they just signed and now he's playing third base for them. And another point I want to make too, I believe I heard this from the Rangers broadcast on the post game was it was him just being in the dugout by himself and just his head down. It sucks because he's in a DH spot. He can't go on the field to just clear his head, just throw the ball, just go play defense, distract himself, just not from hitting.
Yeah.
So that's I would think Alex Cora would like to at least maybe give him a game in each series. Of course, they said that he's committed to doing the full DH role, but I wouldn't be surprised if Boston potentially gives him at least a game in the field just to crack this rough start he's going through.
Yeah, it could be something to watch there, but that's crazy. I think he had 4 strikeouts the first game, 3 strikeouts the second game too. So a rough start there.
Yeah.
But Tampa Bay did not play on Thursday. They were still getting their field ready. George Steinbrenner Field in Florida, which is actually in Tampa. So they're actually playing Tampa. Well, the first game they walked off, you know, what to win the game. But what a great stuff! Actually playing Tampa Bay for once and winning their first game. So that's pretty neat for them.
Yeah, there was a guy I want to say too that had like a sell, like kind of a sell the team kind of poster sign, if I'm not mistaken, to the GM of the or the owner of the race, and he kind of like made a smirk. So yes, your Tampa slash Steinbrenner Field and Tropicana Field walk off on opening day.
Yes, love to see it.
Love to see it. But yep, Rangers are off to a hard start. I want to say too that the Athletics took a series against the Seattle Mariners, and the Angels took the series against the Chicago White Sox. So this American League
No,
West is still going to be competitive.
the Athletics in Seattle tied the series, so they're 2-2.
So everybody played a 4 game series besides Houston. Then
No, the
the Angels was
Angels
a 3
played a
game series.
3-game series too. Yeah.
Okay, so back to it though. It's still going to be a competitive division regardless. Of course, it's
Yeah.
not how you start, it's how you finish. So that's why in my opinion, we've talked about this too, that we haven't even given our predictions for the awards this season. But for the American League, I just see it's going to be between, just like every other season, it's going to be between Houston, it's going to be between the Texas Rangers, and it's going to be between the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
So should be a fun season, but this is the end of our episode. An hour and 15 in. Jesus. On social media, of course, like Angel had mentioned at the beginning of the show, Twitter, FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Subscribe to that YouTube channel if you haven't done so. A lot of our audience is on Twitter. We appreciate a subscribe on our YouTube page as well. Hit that notification bell, and then you won't miss the videos that we had uploaded. We, like I had mentioned in the last podcast, we had talked to, well, we did not talk to Dana Brown, but we were there for the Dana Brown, Joe Spada, Cam Smith, even his mom. We were able to have those videos. So if you haven't checked them out, please do so and go check them out on our YouTube channel. And not but least, Google Podcasts is not there no more. So it's going to be Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Leave us a rate, leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Give us some feedback. We appreciate it. Angel, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, just thank you for listening. Thank you for staying up with us, and appreciate you, tuning in.
Yeah, most definitely. We do have that giveaway still going on. We'll give it till Monday night. I don't know what. Usually we find a winner during the seventh inning, but for sure we're gonna leave it on till Monday night. So if you haven't done so, make sure you go do that retweet, tag two friends. If you haven't had that, subscribe for an extra entry on this giveaway. Please do so. But till then, have a great day. Have a great start to your marvelous Monday or your Sunday night. So have a good start to your week. We'll get you that recap of that Giants series, and we'll preview the series against the Minnesota Twins when they head to the Twin Cities. But till then, y'all stay safe, and we'll see you later.
Peace.